had a rough conversation over lunch with a family member, and it impacted me. It brought me back to some fears that I have, and it was a challenge. I am struggling even right now to talk because it impacted my mojo, my confidence, and I have a speaking event tomorrow. Got to get my stuff back, and in fact, it's a great topic for us to talk about because as leaders, we have to do things when we've been rocked a bit and we're not feeling the energy. We're not feeling the confidence. We're going to talk to you today about how leaders can rebuild their confidence when you are aware that you don't have it. You can take actions, get new experiences, gain that confidence back. 7 things you can do today. So welcome to the Decide Your Legacy podcast. Great topic for you today. I'm Adam Gragg, and I'm with 2 of my friends here that work for Decide Your Legacy, assistant and legacy coaches. So I'm legacy coach and a family therapist, founder of Decide Your Legacy. We help businesses and leaders live courageously, which means you're doing something in the face of your fears that you don't necessarily want to do, but you're still actually doing it. Everyone is a leader. We help leaders. Everyone is a leader. You have friends, family, you have neighbors, you have people you can influence. So I'm here today with Sherman, legacy coach at Decide Your Legacy, and Kelsey Torkelson, also assistant legacy coach at Decide Your Legacy. They're going to share their insight about these 7 tips as well and their experiences as well. We're doing something a little bit differently today. They're going to chime in, not ask me questions, but just chime in on the topic as they go. So as we share, they're going to give you some great insights. So the struggle that we can have, that I see leaders having with confidence, is it's pretty much immobilizing if they get stuck in it, in their head, and they don't move forward because they don't feel like they have the faith in themselves and trust in themselves in that moment to push ahead. But that's really often where they're just about to make a breakthrough.
Yes.
That very end of the process. So I know I shared my struggle, and it's a daily struggle that I can have with insecurity. It's also a daily struggle when I can feel confident. But I know that when I'm feeling confident, I'm doing things differently than when I'm feeling insecure.
Right, exactly. I mean, I have the same struggle with confidence from time to time. It's like just the other day, there was a group of people that were I needed to meet, and I had to go talk to them and make them feel at ease. And I was thinking to myself, well, they don't want to talk to me. I'll just leave them alone. And I'll stay in my office. And like, no, you need to step out in confidence, even though you're not feeling it, and do the action. And afterwards I thought, oh, that wasn't as hard as I thought it was. But in the beginning, I thought I was going to die.
Well, I've struggled with confidence because my whole life, and being on this podcast is way outside my comfort zone because I a lot of times don't feel like I have a lot to add or value, but I have learned that I do have some things to add, and people do want to hear what I have to say.
You're invaluable.
You're invaluable. Appreciate you mentioning that. So a fear that I've faced recently, and I share fears with you because nothing's more valuable to your mental health than facing your fears and doing stuff that are scary. It's scary. You both have shared some different things. And so, I mean, it's a fear right now for me to step on this in not the best mindset. Like, my fear is that, okay, I'm going to mess it up because I don't feel like I'm on my A game, and letting go of that, which is great. So, but you want to face your fears because action is what changes things. So remember, if you listen to this podcast and you don't apply something from it, it's not going to help you. What you take away and you apply, that's going to be 80% of the transformational change that you're going to have. So by the end of this episode, you're going to have some things you can do as a leader when you're not feeling confident to gain your confidence. Apply it. And if you find this podcast helpful, tell your friends. Subscribe, give it a rating and review. It helps it grow organically as well. So think about, if you are not already, some area of your life where you don't have a lot of confidence that you want to face. It could be a relationship. It could be some health challenge. It could be some career issue. It could be a person that you work with. Where are you playing it safe? And this is going to give you the confidence to actually move forward. So let's go ahead and jump into these 7 steps. And, the way I think about it too is, if you're going to make yourself more shatterproof, like the windshield on a 787, which has 5 layers, do these things. You're going to be feeling insecure, but at the end of it, one of them will help you. They can all help you. You can do them all at the same time if you want. But the first one is to build your confidence as a leader, is to go and step back and say, how am I not engaging a vision in my life? A vision is going to excite you. You're seeing what good can actually happen in a year, in 2 years, in 3 years, just even today. You visualize it. So I can know I'm going to speak tomorrow, and by just saying to myself, how can I see myself being confident and visualize that in my head? How will I feel? How will I talk when I'm confident? I talk slower. I let myself be more spontaneous. I end up sharing things off the cuff when I'm confident. I pick up on the audience and what they're doing and saying and the questions that they have. I'm more attuned to how others are picking up on certain pieces of information.
You're being present to people around you when you're confident.
I'm having fun too. And it's not a burden. It's not draining. I'm not thinking about what I'm going to say next. I'm just thinking about what's going on in this specific moment. And that gives me this sense of enjoyment in that situation. And that's having a vision. Great pieces of art. I love to look back at pictures that Emerson and I have seen in museums of famous art. Just yesterday I was looking at Starry Night by Van Gogh, and it was just a picture of her looking at Starry Night because they let you take pictures of it. And you think Van Gogh had a vision. I wonder when that vision started for that picture.
Yeah.
I could probably find out, but maybe he didn't even know. Maybe he had it planted in his mind. He had this image that he could paint at some point, but it was 10 years earlier, and then he finally put it on canvas. We have these things, and I'd find that even the vision I've had to launch Shatterproof and get it out to people to help people with confidence. I mean, I've held back a lot because I've had that vision for a long time, but then that last 10%, which has been hard, has been because then it's kind of like I can get rejected. I can get criticized. Don't want to put it out there at times.
Yeah, so to clarify your vision, you have to have that roadmap. I think of Michelangelo and how those guys sculpted out of marble. I mean, you think about it, you can have the vision, but then they had to have a roadmap. Where am I going to go to finish the David or the Pietà or whatever happens to be? And so the same, actually in my own personal life, I was told a long time ago when I was a youngster about write down a schedule and keep to it as best you can, because that's your roadmap to success. So like working out, taking hours to play, hours to work, all those kind of things, writing that out. And then that, as I look at my week, my month, my year, that gives me a roadmap to my success with my vision. And I can change things as my vision clarifies every day as I walk through this process.
Before I met Adam, I didn't really have a schedule. I would just fly by the seat of my pants. And now Adam has taught me the importance of a schedule, and now I am more intentional with my time. And when I'm more intentional with my time, I am finding that I definitely can fit a lot more into my schedule than I originally thought.
It's pretty amazing because other things that don't align with your vision, where you want to go, then you learn to say no to them. And it's often people, it's often situations, but you learn to say, this is not the best thing for me now. And we're fighting that battle. It's so much noise out there, but the vision helps you stay on track.
Yes.
Interesting thing about the David, I went and saw the David, and it's in Florence, Italy. And he carved the David, Michelangelo, when he was 26, but he had many, many, many failures after that. Like pieces of marble, if you made a mistake, I mean, that marble would be scrapped. They have in the museum all these statues that he tried to carve, but they were only halfway done. Wow, because it was almost one of his first tries that he got the David done, which is pretty amazing. Because, when he painted the Sistine Chapel, he was in his 80s, maybe even his 90s. I mean, he was much older, but he did that when he was 26.
Amazing.
Pretty amazing, yeah. So the second, if you want to work on your confidence, is go ahead and step back from your life and be willing to say to yourself, there's something from my past that impacts how I'm making decisions today. It takes a lot of maturity and courage to look and say, that is triggering me, but it's based on something that happened before. You're getting some space from it, but be willing to write something down. All of these things are actions that you're going to have to physically do. A vision that you just have in your head, no, you have to take an action to share it with somebody. Your past, you have to take an action and go ahead and talk to somebody about it and write it down and be willing to say, like, this is something I'm carrying with me, and I don't have to carry that anymore. And there's certain situations in my life that are triggering that, and I'm going to deal with that. I'm going to actually face it. So
So it's not real for the moment. It's in your past. And so you can recognize it's influencing me in this way or that way. And then you're able to really face it and work through it at that moment. If you keep denying it, keep saying, oh, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. It's not just a river in Egypt.
It's not just, because then because maybe you're doing something that's not helping you in your life because it's a self-protective part that learned to be self-protective because you were hurt, and you're making decisions because you're taking orders from that part of your life where maybe you get into destructive relationships, or you're defensive, or you have an addiction, you drink, and you realize it's because that part of your past used that to cope, and you don't need to do it now. But that self-honesty, the self-awareness will put you back when you're struggling in confidence. It'll maybe just not immediately, but start to give you some perspective to say, my struggle here with my insecurity is because I'm carrying this with me.
Yeah, I have a history of addiction, and I realized that if I didn't face my addiction, I was just going to live in it. And unless we face our past, we never can help others either. So that's my big thing, is like, I want to get through all the junk in my past because I don't want others to suffer and struggle like I've struggled.
That's a really powerful point, because it motivates you, Kelsey, and I've seen that in your life, that you're really motivated. This is really something, like, I've seen you being very motivated to work on yourself when you identify that this is going to help you to help other people.
Yeah.
Which is super healthy. It's like, don't change for other people, change for yourself. It's like somebody gets sober because they want to, attract a really attractive woman, and they couldn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not going to stick the same way, but to actually have the impact on somebody else, broadly speaking, there's kind of a fine line there, but I've seen that in you. Yeah,
it becomes your greatest asset. Your weakness of the past or your difficulties of the past life now has made you so much more open and helpful to everybody because of that asset.
Absolutely. So, and as I go through this content, Sherman and Kelsey know this as well. There's a mini course that we have developed. It's free. It's called Shatterproof Yourself Light. And all 7 of these steps to building self-confidence are listed in there. And there's a worksheet you can print off and some examples. It's a brief course you go through, but it's for you to get this content to sink in deeper. So I'd really encourage you to check that out and go through the worksheet, because it's going to tie this in a really fine, it's going to tie a nice bow on it. So the third thing you can do if you're struggling with insecurity, and this is what I told my friend Troy to do today, is to go ahead and identify, because you're struggling with something, but start to identify how, like, you can add value to other people's lives. And again, write it down. Like, this is how you can make a difference in somebody's life that will start to give you confidence, because you show up for other people for the right reasons to have an impact. And you're going to see the value you bring, and that's going to create more and more excitement. And it's no longer about you, because that insecurity is really about you. It's like you're focusing on, you don't want to feel that way. You don't want to feel insecure. You want to get away and escape. But then you realize that I can go tomorrow and speak to some people and maybe encourage a few of them, because I have information that could possibly help them. That starts to take away that lack of confidence and give me some excitement to have an impact in that situation.
Exactly. I mean, you do have to know your value, because that's one of the building blocks, obviously, of the Shatterproof, but because that is who you really are. And you have to be very careful. Doing those first 3 steps really helps you focus on the fact that what the world says or TV commercials say isn't real. That's, or what you see on the soap operas, that's not real, and that's not how everybody is. You've got your own life with its own issues, but deep down inside, you're valuable because you have worth, because you're bringing something to the world that's unique and only manifested in you. And that's a powerful thing.
And it's God-given.
Yes.
And it's based on all these unique things that you've been blessed with, that you're probably ultimately, because you're letting your past trickle in, and because your insecurities are driving the ship, that you're not actually tapping into the stuff that's really going to add the most value.
Yeah. I mean,
why?
It's God-given. I go back to Jesus and the way he treated everybody. He didn't treat them according to their past. He said,
that's very true.
You're valuable now, where you're at. With all the ugliness that may be involved in your life, you're valuable now, and that's why I'm going to stop and talk to you. Right. And that's a powerful lesson for all of us.
Oh, my gosh. He said powerful things, because the woman at the well, she'd been married 5 times. and he used her. He didn't look at her as like a broken person. He looked at her as somebody with great value.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's so
absolutely.
That's something I just read the other day. So
It's in our brokenness and our realness that we're able to reach people, because people don't want perfection. They don't connect to perfection. They connect to people that are authentic and real.
but perfection just, why does it keep drawing? I mean, like, why do we strive for, why do we let it immobilize us though? It's like I'm so freaking lack compassion with myself at times. And it's because I just look at the things I'm doing wrong, not the things I'm doing right.
Perfectionism is not a virtue.
Not a virtue. So we got the first three. Now the fourth is to shift your perspective. We have this bookmark we give to clients. There's 7 questions on it. And if somebody with anything they're struggling with, they can just answer these 7 questions. And I'm not going to say it's magic, but I am going to say it's an action you can take to verbalize your answers to those questions, and it's going to change your perspective about whatever you're dealing with, give you a much healthier perspective, not based on the worst outcome, not based on something bad happening, not based on your failures, but based on the potential. And this is what leaders do. We go back and look and have the self-awareness to say, I'm thinking about this in the wrong way. I'm going to go ahead and shift it. I'm going to add some truth to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's absolutely imperative. I was just listening to somebody talk about, I think it's George Bernard Shaw, who said there are men who look at life and accept the reality that's there, which is kind of maybe me, versus there's men who look at life and refuse to accept it. And it's those who change the world. And so that's one of the things is shift your perspective. What's limiting you? Oh, nobody from Wichita has ever built this contraption or started a company like this. Well, if you're going to keep living that way and thinking that way, it's never going to get done. Mm-hmm. But maybe you're the one who's going to get Wichita as the air capital of widgets.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Who would ever thought that Wichita would be the air capital of the world as far as private aircraft? It's kind of strange for people to hear that sometimes.
Yeah. For me, I think that if I can go to the worst case scenario a lot. So if I go to the worst case scenario, I also have to remind myself that I have to go to the best case scenario, because a lot of times it falls in between. It's not the worst and it's not the best. It's right there in between. So I shift my perspective from the negative to what could possibly happen that's good.
And you're very skilled at that with other people. If they are negative and fearful, you ask the questions to get them to, you've done it with me many, many times, to go and say, well, what else could happen here? Mm-hmm. What's a better perspective? I wonder if you realize it's funny how you may struggle with that with yourself, but you're much better at helping somebody else.
It happens all the time, I think. Yeah.
Something?
Yeah, your weakness, you're able to help in your weakness. Let's use scripture. In your brokenness, God finds power.
God finds power,
Yes.
yeah. And you got to go to gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think of the DYL tree, the Decide Your Legacy tree, spiritual, family, friends, intellectuals, I mean, a quick activity is just to list something that you're grateful for in each of those areas.
Gratitude is
do it.
absolutely necessary to get through life and to get through anything. It's the foundation of it all.
It is so important. I was struggling with that on Sunday, feeling lonely, having those moments, So the fifth thing you can do to go ahead, the fifth thing is own your emotions. You can deal with your emotions. So you go and step back, and I'm struggling with confidence, but what can I do to get a grip on my emotional health right here? And finding ways to identify how you feel and journal about it. Mm-hmm. Say, I'm feeling this because, and what is this telling me? It's almost like a trailhead on a hike. You find the trailhead, you can at least start to go on the journey towards the destination. Now, you'd never get there if you didn't eventually find the trailhead. It's this self-discovery of what is this emotional reaction I'm having in this situation. I was feeling jealousy pretty strongly recently. Jealousy for other people who have things that I wish I would have. Jealousy for people who have life situations and circumstances that are different than mine. And then if I can identify that I'm feeling jealous, then I can unpack that with some truth. Mm-hmm. But that emotional work is hard. But it's so powerful. I think once you start to do it, though, I find that people, when you're struggling with confidence, you're able to identify what's really driving this lack of confidence, and you pinpoint it, and it's no longer ambiguous and there's some truth to it, that I'm lacking confidence because I had a difficult conversation with a family member a couple hours ago. Okay, I can deal with that now.
Yeah.
And now I can talk to somebody, and I did talk to you guys about it, and I talked to others about it, so now I can deal with it.
Yeah.
It helps begin that resilience in you and that ability to bounce back much quicker and have that self-confidence that you need.
Right, that could derail people.
Yes.
Or even derail me with escapism, because I have a part of me that likes to run and escape from all kinds of uncomfortable feelings.
Yeah.
But now I can look at the feeling and say, it's not about running from it. It's about identifying it and starting to walk down that, take the trail to a better place.
Feelings aren't facts. You've told me that several times, and emotions are just clues on things that we need to work on. And anytime I have uncomfortable feelings, I always like to go, what's beneath this feeling? What is the real thing, the issue?
What are the uncomfortable feelings you might struggle with, guys, when you're struggling with confidence? What are the specific emotions?
Oh, I think I would say, actually, just like you, I would say jealousy and, it just flitted out of my mind. But I'd say jealousy is a big one because we're not confident where we're at right now in our own life, in our own skin, in our own financial bracket, all those kind of things. And we just think, gosh, I wish I had this, instead of just living where I'm at right now, changing my perspective and going back to who am I?
Right.
And then going forward from there and saying, I can handle this. I am facing all the past. I'm knowing my value, and I can keep moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I struggle with anger and insecurity and all of the things. Let's see. You want me to stop?
Please stop.
Yes.
Please.
Yes.
And that's the deal. You guys as leaders, you're struggling with confidence. You're just going to be able to unpack some of the emotions behind that and figure out where it's leading, what it's telling you. So 6, action you can take, work on your confidence, is just do some self-care. And this is a little bit interesting for me, but I've realized over time that self-care, one of the most powerful things I can do is to focus less on myself. Focus less on myself is caring for myself. I'm realizing that I have things to offer other people. When I'm really beating myself up the most and when I'm struggling the most, I'm just in my own head and I'm not taking any kind of action to do anything productive. But that means that if I want to care, I go and take action to do something, and it gets my mind off of my own challenges, whatever that can be. So it's reading a book, and it is oftentimes are things I do by myself. It doesn't mean I'm going out and focusing on helping other people. It could be. It could very much be a self-care action, but it's these things that I'm just not discounting that rejuvenate me and energize me.
Yes.
And help me to get out of the junk that I'm really struggling with.
Exactly. I mean, I think I just look at kids today, and I think that's one of the things, or I think of the book, Amusing Ourselves to Death, and how it's all about distraction. And it's not healthy distraction. It's very passive distraction. And it's spending time with the TV or the iPad or the Nintendo instead of with others that is healthy and recreating ourselves. So we have to find those ways that we find healthy rhythms in our day-to-day life through a schedule or whatever it happens to be, and then cut out those distractions that are draining you. Work can be draining, but what are you doing afterwards to fill your cup?
Right. Well, with my girls in my small group at Switch, we always challenge
What
each
is
other.
Switch?
It's the small group. It's the
Like a
youth group
right.
at our
a church youth group.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I challenge them, and I always want to look at their screen time, because people say that they're so busy, they don't have any time. I'm like, let me see your screen time. Let me see how long you're on your phone, because people don't realize how much time they waste on that phone.
When they say they
scrolling.
don't have time for self-care, look at their phone.
Right.
Or they don't have time for
Time for
relationships
anything,
or
just
something healthy in their
anything.
life. Because
Yes.
that will indicate that they could free up time.
Right. Yes.
Right away.
Mm-hmm.
Boy.
Yeah.
Can you imagine going like a week with zero screen time?
Well, I don't know if that's actually possible, just because we're tied to our phones, and our phones are.
I bet it is possible.
Well,
Actually, I'm going to interrupt because I just saw an interview with Tim Cook, and somebody was asking him about the phone, and he said, we never developed the phone to be as much involved in our lives
Right.
as it is today.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, in his own day, of course, he's a little different because he's got secretaries and such, but he says, on an average day, my phone time is under 10 minutes.
That's amazing.
And it's just like, but it does say, I mean, he's a powerful, confident CEO. And why? Well, because he's creating healthy rhythms in his life.
Right.
And his own product is not stealing that time from him.
Yeah.
It was fascinating. I was like, really?
So we're going to challenge ourselves to have less screen time?
It's a great challenge right
Okay.
there.
I'm
Absolutely.
okay with
I'm
it.
for
Absolutely.
it. I'm for it.
Absolutely. So the seventh thing you can do, and I want to go over that after I do one more plug for Shatterproof, is go check out, if you found this helpful, Shatterproof Yourself Lite. Go through the content, give us some feedback, comment, give us feedback, and fill out the worksheet, download it, go through it. You're going to find it helpful. It's going to really make this stuff sink in and drive it home. All these ways that you can, when you're feeling insecure, step back and build confidence back into your life and go to that next thing.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
action.
So,
the action,
action.
filling out those
That's the key.
sheets.
That's
Yep.
the key,
Yep.
man. I mean, do the dang worksheet. Do
Yes.
it. Okay. So seventh thing is to build healthy relationships. Okay. So you have these relationships in your life. You're struggling with insecurity. Go and engage one of your friends. Do something with somebody. I mean, we don't make our clients develop a monkey list, but we challenge them to identify the monkeys in their life. You know, if I look at my legacy plan, which is a plan for my life that I look at in the morning, that reminds me of who are the go-to people in my life that can fill me up. And I forget because life is overwhelming and life gets consuming in other areas. But I remember, hey, that's somebody I can reach out to. Those are the guys I can call. I can text him, and I'll have something with my perspective saying, well, they don't want to talk to you, or, you know, you're not worthy of reaching out to them. But it reminds me, yes, I am, and I can focus on that. So we deal with relationships. And what can we do here? We can go ahead and develop our own monkey list. These are the people in your life that you know you can rely on. And it goes back to this experiment where they have a monkey in a cage and terrify the monkey, and they measure cortisol levels in the monkey because of loud noises and gongs and fire, and it's through the roof because the monkey's in a very terrifying fight or flight type situation. They take the monkey's buddy, put him in the cage with him or her, reproduce the experiment, cortisol levels drop significantly. We do the same thing. I mean, we're not monkeys and everything, but we have a stress response that decreases significantly when we go through life with somebody else on our side, with somebody else that we're walking through. And it can't just be one person, honestly. It can't just be one. We have to have at least two monkeys in our life. That's real. There's some real significant evidence that I have seen experientially when people just have one person, because it's like you can't, in a marriage, go to your spouse for everything. In fact, that won't lead to a healthy marriage.
Yeah.
It will not.
No. You can't. Yeah. So it's like you say, you have to have a group.
You
Just
do.
think about.
You don't need 20, but I would suggest you look and find ways to build 2 or 3 monkeys in your life. You know, people that you can go to, and be very careful and selective. You don't get that monkey stamp if they're not worthy of that monkey stamp.
Right. You show me your friends, and I'll tell you your future.
And a lot of people, I will tell you, in this world, they have some friendship deals that I would not qualify them as people that are showing up for them. They're going back to empty wells, basically. Not people that are draining, and it's all people they're helping and they're not actually helping them.
Right.
Got to be very careful with that. So you find ways to, build that monkey list. You find ways to go first in your life, and you show up. Showing up is a huge deal. You find and you can identify who your monkeys are, because they're the ones that show up when you need them the most. The ones that don't, there's a problem there. And I'm not perfect at this. I'm not saying I'm a fellow traveler as I share this content here. Do not for one second think I got all this figured out and I'm perfect and I'm the awesome friend in every situation. I'm not. But I work hard on it, and it is a priority for me. And I want to have times when I'm struggling to remember that I have these people in my life that want to be there for me. And I can call Brent, and I can text Troy, and I can reach out to Ben, and I can talk to Alan, and I can reach out to these people. Big deal.
You know how important friends are to me. They're like my livelihood. And I don't know what I would do without my friends. My friends are the family that I created, and I'm very intentional with that. And that's something that I probably almost spend too much time on sometimes as my friends, but I'll not regret the time I've spent with my friends, because relationships are the core of who I am.
That's like saying there's too many flowers in the world.
That is exactly right. Yes.
Big deal. Big deal. So leaders struggling with confidence, go ahead and do one of these Actions, clarify your vision, get some perspective, start visualizing it differently. Face your past in some way. Just really identify that it's impacting you in this situation and probably the impact on your confidence in that situation. Know how you can show up for yourself, how you add value to other people's lives, shift your perspective, own your emotions, deal with your emotions, identify them, write them down, do some self-care, which, by the way, is going to help you focus less on yourself. So focus less on yourself because you're engaging in self-care, and reach out to those friends that you know care for you and can be there and can show up and will show up for you. You know who they are. Build new ones as well. All of these will help you with your confidence. Try it. Do something different.
Yeah, these are real-world strategies that will help improve your confidence in your life in all aspects. Highly recommend it. It's transformational.
Transformational. And just by talking about this with you guys today, you guys have helped me to grow in my confidence, giving me feedback, helping me shift my perspective. Your friends help you with all 7 of these. I mean, all 6 of them. They help you with each. Each of your good friends are going to encourage you in all of these areas. So, one little story I got to show to you, tell you about, is I decided to go see my daughter in Boston this weekend. I hope the weather holds up. But she was dealing with a little bit of homesickness at school. She's been there for 6 weeks, and I had some friends who encouraged me to go visit her. I wanted to go visit her, but they really gave me that kind of get over the hump, buy your ticket. So I bought my tickets, got my rental car, got my hotel room, and she texted me today saying, and this is after I was struggling with confidence, but she texted me saying, I'm so excited for you to come visit me.
Aww.
And I texted her back. I said, hey, I'm here for you. I can't wait as well. And just wanted her to know, that's one of my goals in life. My legacy plan is the one thing I want to be remembered for, being there when you needed him most. That's one thing. He was there when I needed him the most, and I want to live up to that. And that's reminding. It's a big challenge, but
big
to be
responsibility
there for them, because that's what I want from people around me, and that's what I have from my good friends. So in summary, we've already summarized. I want to just wrap it up the way I always do. Your legacy is the impact your life's going to have on others and is having on others. A decision means you're eliminating the noise and you're focusing on the content. You're focusing on the core stuff. That's a decision. So make a decision today to apply something from this content to your life so that you can grow in your confidence and move this forward. Move the needle in your confidence. Make a decision. This will not change your life unless you take action. 80% of transformational change is action. 20% or less is insight. You've gained insight by listening to this content today. I want to close today the way I always do. Make a decision to live your life. Okay? You decide your legacy, no one else. Live the life today you want to be remembered for 10 years after you're gone. I appreciate you greatly. And I will see you next time. And as Sherman would say, boom.